What's up, weirdos? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Felicia. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe. I put out new horror content every Sunday and Wednesday. And today we're going to be talking about Hell House LLC.
What happened that night at the Abaddon Hotel? What is that?
It's everything.
Sarah, have you watched those?
No.
So you have no idea what's on them?
How beautiful is this?
Hell House.
So this movie came out in 2015 and was written and directed by Stephen Cognetti. It's a found footage docu-horror movie that basically starts out with these people that are going to make a documentary about this tragedy that happened in this haunted house in upstate New York. And it's basically been totally unexplained until this point what actually happened that night. No one knows what went down, no one has answers, and so these filmmakers are going to find the answers basically. And they interview this girl that was part of the Hell House LLC, so one of the haunters, and she basically brings them this bag of videotapes that sort of chronicle the building of the haunted house and all the weird stuff that started going down before they opened, and thus the spooky ensues. So a couple things I like about this horror movie is, for me, found footage stuff is always really scary to me because it feels so real, right? The actors never feel like actors. They feel like people you could know. They feel like situations that you could potentially be in, and also just like the style of the filming makes it feel so real.
Look, there it is. There we go.
It's like sort of like that feeling of Blair Witch Project where it's like it's too real, and that's what makes it so scary. And in a similar style to Blair Witch, it ends up being the things that you can't see that end up being a lot scarier than things that you can see.
Back. You heard that right?
The second thing I really liked about this movie is just that it felt really original. I haven't seen a movie like this before. I know that Hellfest is coming out in September, I believe, and that also has like things go wrong in a haunted house thing going on. And I think it's a really cool idea because, like, if you think about going into a haunted house,
I think we're next.
And being really scared by all the stuff that people set up in there for you, and then being scared by things that they didn't set up.
Go back up!
You don't know what's intentional, what's not intentional, what's real, what's not real. And the last thing I love is just like the DIY-ness of it, if you will. Like, obviously this is like a low budget horror film, but what's cool to me is like the haunted house setup, like all the things that are supposed to be really scary, like, you know, like the clowns and the, like, stuff hanging from the ceiling and like the creepy ghouls and all this stuff. They actually figured out a way to make these sort of cheap, scary things feel legitimately scary.
Godspeed.
And I thought that was really smart and really well done, because it's things that you're just like, oh yeah, is that supposed to scare me? And then like somehow they turned around on you, and then you're like sitting there just being like, oh no. The only complaints I have about this movie is that the haunters, the people that were making the haunted house, so it's like, I think it's 4 guys and a girl, and honestly, it's like all the guys, like, they don't look the same really, but they all sort of look the same. And so with found footage where it's like a shaky camera and like stuff like that, it's like, it was honestly hard to sort of keep track of people's characters and people's personalities. Like, obviously I had an easier time following the girl, and I had an easier time following like the guy that was holding the camera for the majority of the movie, but the rest of them I was sort of like, who was that guy? Was that guy here the whole time? And like, he was. And my last complaint is that, so the first like 2/3 of the movie I think are like legitimately really scary. Like, there are times where I was literally like sitting on my couch like this, just being like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then the last third, they sort of like, the only way I know how to put this is they just like give you too much where they don't need to. It's like how the reason Blair Witch is so scary is because the characters don't really know what's going on, and thus the audience doesn't know what's going on, and so the characters and us are like picturing the worst possible thing, and that's really scary. It's like you're playing your own mind game while watching the movie. And in this one, it's sort of just like that last third, they really give too much away. They like give too much explanation. I'll get to this more in the spoiler section, but there's just a few things that feel too cheap in a way, where it's sort of like reveals the cheapness of the movie in ways in which they didn't really need to. It was plenty scary enough without like showing their hand, and I felt like they showed their hand and I was like, oh no, put it away, you know what I mean? But overall I thought it was a really cool movie and was legitimately scared while I was watching it. So let's go ahead and get to the ratings. For the scare, I'm gonna give it a 3. So there were definitely moments where, like I said, like I was looking through my fingers so that if I need to I could just go like this. And there was like at least 2 of those where I was like, oh my god, oh my god. And there was like a few jump scares that really got me, and so that was cool too. For the gore, I'm gonna give it a 2. There is some gore in this movie, but it's like, it's not super well done, and thus it's not like super horrifying, but it is there, just so you know. And for the cheese, this is hard because if I was talking about the first 2/3 of the movie, I'd probably give this cheese like a 2. But just that last third of the movie, I sort of have to give it a 3, which I'll get to in the spoiler section, but they just showed me too much that I didn't need to see, and thus they earned themselves a 3 on the cheese. Okay, now let's get to the spoilers. I'm gonna finish my complaining really quickly. Towards the end of the movie, they show you these hooded figures that are, I guess, behind the paranormal activity going on in the hotel. That to me felt like a cheap way to explain what was going on in the hotel, which I didn't need to know, because what was going on in my head was 20 times scarier than like actors in capes. Like I was just like, this is not right, this is too far. It's too much like a haunted house. Like the end, the scare started becoming a little sillier. Once the hooded figures started coming in, I was just like, oh no. And a scene I just really liked that I know a lot of people thought was really cheesy, it's also like in the trailer, but that I really enjoyed, is the scene where the guy that's like doing most of the like videoing is in his bedroom, and there's this like dead girl sitting in his room, and he like goes under the covers, and every time he, you know, shows his face again, she's closer and closer to him. People thought it was so cheesy, but I thought it was so smart, because it's like, it's this thing of like being in a haunted house and like the predictability of the scares in a haunted house. They're sort of like, yes, it's predictable, but that doesn't mean it's not gonna get you, you know? And like, I also just like the idea of like the guy with the camera going under the covers, because like for some reason, like as children, it's like when you go under the covers, you're totally safe. And it's like, well, no, you're not. Like that, how is like one sheet of fabric gonna protect you from all the monsters of the world, you know what I mean? And so it's like a nice thought, but like no. And so like I think he sort of experiences that, where he's like, it's not real, like, because these are the people like that are supposed to be doing the scaring, the haunters. Like they're supposed to be doing the scaring, and yet they're the ones that are being scared throughout this movie. And I think that was really cool, and like I didn't mind that they were sort of cheesy. I sort of like enjoyed it. I didn't really care. And I know a lot of people complained about the fact that it sort of ends twice, and that the second ending isn't as satisfying, and like I sort of like feel that, like, yeah, it probably wasn't necessary, but I also wasn't super bothered by it. I was like, oh, like a nice like casual twist at the end, like you do you. And the last thing I'm gonna say, and this is like dumb, but if anyone knows where to get that girl's Hell House sweatshirt, like somebody has to sell that, right? I loved it. The main girl in the movie, Sarah, she has this sweatshirt that she wears that just says Hell House, and it's like the company sweatshirt, and I was like, I need that merch. I need that Hell House merch. And I was trying to find it on the internet and I couldn't find anything. So if anyone's seen anything, let a girl know, because I do love some horror movie merchandise, and I would love a Hell House sweatshirt. But overall, guys, like I liked it. I thought it was a scary movie. If you like found footage films, you'll definitely like this one. It's definitely very original and very cool. Also, there is a Hell House 2. I haven't seen it. I guess it already came out. It says on IMDb 2018. So I'm not sure if it already came out or not, but I'll look into that. So that's it, guys. I will see you in my next video, and have a nice screen. Bye!